The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
With so many people living longer, the fear of outliving your money becomes a reality for many of us. Will I be a financial burden? Will I outlive my money? How will I be remembered? My name is Neil Himmelstein, president of Main Street Planning Group. Please contact me by visiting mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. I will introduce you to strategies that will guarantee you will not outlive your money, that can guarantee you will not be a burden on your loved ones. Through a collaborative approach, we will uncover solutions that offer tax-efficient strategies, lifetime income, and legacy planning, choice, organization, direction, and education. That is the code we stand behind. Contact mainstreetplanninggroup.com, that's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. And listen to me every Friday at 3 p.m. as I host the Main Street Code for Financial Success, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. I'm here every Friday at 3 o'clock. If you miss an episode, you can catch me on Apple, catch me on Spotify, the Main Street Code. And once again, great to have you here. When we talk about our code, we talk about choice, organization, direction, and education. And we help hundreds of advisors across the United States, attorneys, CPAs, and other financial professionals with insurance, life insurance, disability, long-term care, and annuities. We are experts in all these areas. And not only are we experts in those areas, it's an integral part of your plan. And we are non-company specific. We're completely agnostic on who we deal with, and we try and do the best job for all our clients that we possibly can, regardless of what company it is. We give you solutions and answers, and if you don't have a financial team, we help put one together for you with our whole group of accountants and attorneys that we've done business with to help you with your financial goals. And today, we're very excited to have with us Michael Maloney from Maloney, I apologize, from Zigzag Solutions. And Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. So
I'm by trade, I'm an electrical engineer and programmer. I also have worked in law enforcement for over 20 years. I have a lot of experience with cybercrime, financial crimes, and just basically cybersecurity in general. We used to do a lot of development. Now, basically, we still do that, but with the growing emerging cyber threats which are occurring throughout the world, especially with financial professionals, we find ourselves basically ingrained in the day-to-day warfare of cyber technology and threats that are emerging across all scales of different sizes of businesses.
Gotcha. So you mostly work directly with businesses, not individuals, or?
Yes.
Okay. So what type of cybercrime, I mean, it's so huge today. So tell me about some of the situations you get involved in and how you help. So
typically we find ourselves involved in investigations which include cryptocurrency, the theft of cryptocurrency, usually through some sort of ruse, but via email, text message, phone call. Usually it's a social engineering hack or a personal hack where somebody's being targeted due to a certain demographic workup that's happening online. We also find ourselves involved in a lot of wire fraud, recovering money from for persons who are taken advantage of online or exploited through like a common practice right now is something called lookalike domains. So basically, they'll target your a domain which looks very similar to yours. So your email threads are almost unrecognizable, and then what they'll do is they'll solicit just a change of payment information from a client or things like that, and usually we'll assist customers in recovering that money in the event that federal law enforcement or local law enforcement is unable to do so.
Yeah, tell me about I've seen this. We see it every day. Every day. You must be very busy, I'm sure. And I know that you spoke in front of my group, and a banker reached out to you because somebody wired money, and
yes,
you recover money. And tell me how that all plays out. So how does that work?
So there's a tremendous growth of our business in the medium to small range financial markets, mainly with financial planners, wills and estates attorneys, basically people who are in charge of securing your personal information, who you rely on, to do so. But overall, the security of those documents which you're signing or storing on their networks or maybe sometimes on a email are threatened or compromised in some way. Or sometimes it's just like a wire fraud where we'll have like somebody solicit an email, for payment terms and change of payment information. So what we'll typically do is, in the event that there's limits on what the FBI or the federal government will get involved in, unless it touches some other case or some other avenue, and local law enforcement's the threats and the technology are emerging so quickly that there's a large skill gap in what they're able to actually do because of the costs of software for local governments and things like that, where we have a series of tools where we could help assist in either discovering where that information is gone, and then we can work with your bank to recover those funds, or tracking down where the actual funds are, and sometimes freezing them and having reverse wires done.
Yeah, it's a crazy stuff going on, I got to tell you. I mean, just the other day, I by mistake, instead of sending to my mortgage $1,000, I sent $10,000.
Yeah.
And just little things like that is how they pick up on emails and they go crazy, and protecting your. I think the biggest thing that you could provide is, how do you protect yourself from all this craziness going on? Because there are crooks out there looking to grab your money every day. So how does one really insulate themselves? How do they protect themselves?
So the best way to protect yourself is really to take a holistic, over mile-high look at like what your technology footprint is. From a personal level, people are still using like emails like AOL or some Yahoo Mail, or maybe they have accounts out there which are kind of abandoned, that they're not really taking care of. And then those passwords tend to become compromised over time, or maybe you're using the same email address and password for like your banking website, which has a breach, and then that shows up on the dark web, and now somebody gets that information and then tries accessing your email, and because you don't have proper, standard 2025 security practices in place, they access your email. That is a treasure trove of information for basically to destroy your life at this point.
Right.
You may have your emails coming in there from, your mortgage. Once they have a username and password and control of your email with your mortgage, they can basically reapply for new mortgages. They could do like liens, title changes, things like that against your home, or lines of credit that you may, you could be completely unbeknownst to you. We typically see that is the main method of attack that we see these days. It's usually due to password, like we call it password laziness, or basically like you're using the same password everywhere, and it's just easy for you to do. So we always recommend having a variation of passwords across with a seed phrase possibly that you may be interested in, or know that keeps you fresh, so that you can actually remember your own password, or unless you're using like a very highly secure password manager. And basically, our current strategy in our educational avenues is to basically sit people down and say, okay, what are your 5 biggest, risks? And we go through them, and we make sure that you're either using different email addresses and passwords for those, or if you're using the same email address, that you have different passwords, and then you have multi-factor authentication set up for all those, which could be a text message, or sometimes you'll have like a Google Authenticator app, or maybe the Microsoft Authenticator app, where you're getting extra codes, and it's not just a straight-up login. And now there's actually new technologies which are emerging, which actually do passwordless logins, and you could set those up on your smartphone, or if your computer's got a biometric device like a finger scan, or Windows Hello, which is basically the face scan from the camera, and then essentially it encrypts your password, and it uses the biometric data to log you in, so that nobody else, even if they do get your password, can actually log in and take control of your accounts.
Yeah, it used to be just big businesses used to be thinking about that, but all businesses need to be very diligent with protecting data, of course.
Yes.
And I've seen situations where we've gotten email chains from people that we think we know, and they get that email, and then all of a sudden they have your whole list, and they're sending out emails to everybody under the sun that you've ever sent emails out to. I saw that float around 6 months ago from 4 different people I knew.
Yeah,
once
usually
I get
comes
one,
in a waterfall, yeah.
yeah. Once they get one, they get multiple. So it's scary stuff out there. And we need people like you to protect us, I got to tell you. Including Brookhaven Town and Suffolk got hit. And they're still having problems in Suffolk County, where we are, with some of the cyber scam that happened. So it's very prevalent. We have to be very diligent, and the crooks are trying every day to figure out every solution we have. It's spy counter spy at this point. Right?
Yeah, it's a marathon. You know,
yes.
We need to keep running.
It sure is. You're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein, and we have our friend Michael here. And Michael, if someone needs to get a hold of you, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can reach out to us through our website. We are online at zigzagsolutions.com, or you could email us at support or sales at zigzagsolutions.com, and with any of your business needs, from software development to cybersecurity.
Fantastic. And if you want to get a hold of me, the best way is 631-647-4694. We're going to be right back after a quick break. Thank you. Welcome back to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. If you were here before the break, we're here with Michael
Maloney from Zigzag Solutions. You can reach us online at zigzagsolutions.com.
Fantastic. And Michael spoke in front of this group of accountants, attorneys, and financial professionals that I'm the co-founder of, called the LFPN. And he was so intriguing and so exciting. We have him back next week to speak to us again. So many questions, so detailed. So your experience, worked with the FBI and cybersecurity, or and the police, and tell me a little bit more about that.
So over the course of a 20-year career, I've basically worked on every type of cybercrime that there could be, ranging from like a state-sponsored attack to different types of fraud, and usually monetary fraud, from cryptocurrency to bank and wire fraud.
Wow. I mean, this is the guy you want to meet, because guess what? It's stuff happens to us, and you go, where do you turn? That's what I find is like, wow, who do I go to? I have some friends that personally fell into a couple traps. People well educated that fell into, on the personal side and on the business side. I see it every day. And then who do you turn to? And you're actually in the prevention business as well with software, correct?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So a lot of the best defense is usually having your home security, personal security, and being diligent in your daily practices is usually your best bet. We find that there's a lot of bleed over from people's personal accounts into their business accounts, or maybe they're putting business emails on, the soccer chain emails, and then they'll have some password compromise through some of those, which tends to, spiral and take over a significant portion of your day or your life, unfortunately, and on a bad day.
Well, that's a big point, because when COVID hit, that was my biggest fear, because my staff works out of Queens, works locally. We were used to all working in the same office together. I felt like there was more controls, and as soon as COVID hit, all of a sudden I'm really freaking out about, okay, I'm not looking at that person's computer. They're not looking at my computer. I have a third person. I'm not looking at that computer. It's more relevant today than ever with people working from home. I'm sure more stuff happens with that crossover with the personal and everything else, and that's what we have to be careful of.
And we do see a lot of that. And what happens is usually, even if something slips through and you have proper security software and things like that, the most common thing that happens is you usually click a bad link, and maybe there's like a program or something that kicks off. We typically see one of those like malicious processes that run, kick off, and then it'll hijack maybe a password set. It'll try and start scraping or touching your passwords through your keystrokes in your keyboard, because there's like listener applications which are written by like either state-sponsored actors, or they're put out on the dark web for like it's almost like software as a service. What they call it RAS, which is RASS, which is ransomware as a software service. And essentially, with almost no training or experience, you can go out online and for a certain monetary value of Bitcoin, you could purchase one of these ransomwares and kick off a list, which you also is a password compromised list, which you would buy. And it almost takes no real skill to do other than being somewhat computer savvy. So typically, the things that we see are usually attacks which bleed over from the personal side, because people don't reboot their computers very often. So if you do have a bad process that's running that you accidentally clicked on a link, usually it won't restart when you restart your computer. So a lot of times, especially if you have proper cybersecurity software, so like a good standard practice for someone at home or someone who might be working from home and using multiple computers is to restart your machine frequently, and to make sure that your updates in your in Windows or Mac OS, whatever platform you choose to use, is up to date.
Wow, that's great advice. So, advice 1. Restart your computers, right?
Yeah, it's probably what your IT guy tells you, right? Restart it at first if it doesn't work.
Okay, but I'm just saying on a regular basis, make it a habit to shut down and restart and reboot on a daily basis, I would say, right? Or when restart, not because a lot of times people sleep their computers and they're like, oh, my computer's off, and then like when we go into a scenario as a response method, it's like, well, your machine sleeps all the time. It's not actually restarting. So it's actual restart from the Windows controls or from Mac OS. Okay.
That actually would spawn or kill any process that spawned that was not intended to run.
So that's number 1. What's number 2?
Number 2 is to make sure that your emails are all secured with multi-factor authentication, that you have either the passwordless logins if it's possible, and that you have not just a text message but an authenticator app. And it's important to know that if you are getting text messages when you log into websites or into various softwares that you use, nobody's going to ask you to text a code back, which is another frequent attack that we see. So somebody will get like a Microsoft message or like a Google text message with a 2-factor authentication code in it, and then they'll get another text message shortly thereafter saying, this is Google. We just sent you a text message with an authenticator code. Respond back within 30 seconds for that code. And somebody's like, oh, okay. And they send it back. That's actually somebody logging into your account and trying to hijack your account.
Wow.
So one thing is to make sure that the authenticator apps help circumvent you accidentally texting a code back, but it should become a best practice or just a standard of knowledge that you would never text a code back to anyone. You'll only receive codes when you're logging in.
That's great advice. Is there a number 3? I know there's probably a number 15. But
so
that's good advice.
Yeah, number 3 would probably be if you do have corporate email, there are a multitude of different avenues you could use to secure your email. You can insert banners in the headers of your emails so that it says that this email came from outside our organization. This way, if someone tries to send an email to your group saying that they're you, and maybe they have the ability to make it look like it's you, but it's actually coming from johndoe@gmail.com. The banner would trigger a warning to somebody, or at least a visual alert where they would say, oh wait, why is it saying it's coming from outside our company? It's supposed to be coming from Neil. So you can insert banners into your emails if you have corporate email. You could also put on external tagging, which basically just shows next to each person's name, it'll say external if they're not within your organization. We actually recommend doing all of these because what happens is, if you stare at a flashing light long enough, it just becomes normal. So people see the banner, it says it came from outside our organization, and then they click on a link anyway because they're like, I see that banner all the time, and I just, it became invisible after a while, essentially, is what they say.
Right.
So typically what we do is we turn on the external tagging if you're using like a product like Office 365 or Microsoft email. And then we'll also insert a message header in there with a big banner, some sort of high color, red, yellow, neon, that says this came from outside your organization. And then the other option would be basically there's another it's essentially a feature that gets turned on in Microsoft once you have professional email or in Gmail Workspace or Google Workspace.
So that banner only goes on if it's from outside. Normally it wouldn't go on.
Correct.
Okay. And that's something that could be installed in your emails?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's great, because I'm going to use that. That's good advice. I've seen a lot, I get 200-300 emails a day, and I have spam filters and everything else. But you see a lot of emails that they just change one little letter when they send you an email or something else that's a phony email, and it's very hard to pick up with the naked eye when they do that. And that's one of the schemes that I've been seeing.
Yeah, it's actually the number one method of email cyber attack or compromise these days. It's called the lookalike domain. And essentially, you could also work with your domain registrar to put some filters on so that if somebody registers something that looks like yours, you'll get notifications and then you could take action.
Wow. Listen, we could talk all day. It's just fascinating stuff, and it's so important that you protect yourself and your business from cyber attacks.